The weight of an empire. We often talk about building empires as if it's just about stacking bricks or accumulating shares. But have you ever stopped to think about the weight of it all? Imagine carrying the expectations of a planet on your shoulders. Every launch, every failure, every tweet, it's a performance. But tonight, I want to talk about the man who is tired of performing. I've spent half my life solving the physics of rockets, but the physics of the human heart is much more volatile. It doesn't follow a formula. You can't simulate a relationship in a computer. For years, I lived in a world of logic because logic is safe. Logic doesn't break your heart. It just gives you data. But standing at the peak of all this success, I realized that I was winning a game that had no end and no real prize. I was building a ladder to Mars, but I forgot to build a bridge to the person standing right next to me. The invisible prison of independence. We are taught that independence is the ultimate goal. Don't depend on anyone, they say. Stay strong, stay solitary. I followed that advice to the letter. I became an island. I thought that by not needing anyone, I was becoming invincible. But invincibility is just another word for isolation. I remember nights in the factory, surrounded by the most advanced technology humanity has ever created, yet feeling like a ghost in my own life. Everything was mine, but there was no ours. That is the invisible prison. You have the key, but you're too afraid to open the door because you don't know who or what is waiting on the other side. My decision to surrender everything, to sign that paper, was my way of melting the bars of that prison. It was a declaration that I would rather be vulnerable and connected than powerful and alone. The anatomy of a decision. Let's talk about that Tuesday afternoon again. The world thinks big changes happen in boardrooms with a lot of noise. They don't. They happen in the quietest moments of your soul. I looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't see a variable. I didn't see a risk to be mitigated. I saw a mirror. Choosing her wasn't about her being perfect. She isn't. Neither am I. Choosing her was about deciding that the work of building a life together was more meaningful than the ease of being alone. I chose the friction. I chose the arguments. I chose the difficult conversations at 3 a.m. because those are the things that make you real. When I say I chose her, I mean I chose the reality of another human being over the fantasy of my own perfection. I chose to let someone else hold the pen that writes my story. The ghost of novelty. We live in a world that is obsessed with the new, a new phone, a new car, a new partner. We are told that if something is broken, you throw it away and get a better version. But you can't build a lighthouse if you keep changing the location. Novelty is a ghost. It's a shadow that disappears as soon as the sun goes down. I've seen it all, the fame, the excitement. The next big thing, it's a treadmill that never stops. I chose depth. Do you know how terrifying depth is? It means you have to stay. It means you have to look at the same face for 40 years and still find something new to love. That is the real adventure. It's not traveling to another planet. It's traveling into the soul of the person you've committed to. That is where the real mystery lies. That is where the real legacy is built. The lighthouse doesn't exist for the keeper. It exists for the ships in the storm. But if the keeper doesn't love the lighthouse, the light will eventually go out. I had to learn to love the process of tending. I had to learn that loyalty isn't a burden. It's a privilege. There were days when I wanted to quit. Not just the business, but the relationship. Days when the silence was too loud and the misunderstandings were too deep. But loyalty is what stays when the feelings leave. Feelings are like weather. They change every hour. But the lighthouse is made of stone. It doesn't care about the rain. It doesn't care about the wind. It just stands there. I decided to be the stone. I decided that my word was more important than my mood. Imagine a room where you don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to defend your choices. You don't have to be the genius or the billionaire. You are just a man, sitting in the dark, breathing. That is what I found with her. That is what home feels like. It's the silence that feels like an exhale. For years, I was holding my breath, waiting for the world to find out I was human. With her, I didn't have to hide it. She already knew, and she chose to stay anyway. That is the ultimate surrender. When you realize that you are loved not for your achievements, but in spite of them. When you realize that if it all went away tomorrow, the money, the fame, the power, the person sitting across from you wouldn't even blink. They would just pass you the coffee and ask what you want to do today. I am not the same man I was when I started this journey. Building a lighthouse changed me. It made me patient. It made me soft in the ways that matter and hard in the ways that protect. I realized that my greatest invention wasn't a rocket or a car. It was the version of myself that was capable of staying. If my life ended today, I wouldn't look at the sky and wonder if I made it to Mars. I would look at the light burning in the window of my home and know that I made it to the only destination that ever mattered. I found the courage to choose. I found the strength to be loyal. And in the end, I found,
I need to take you somewhere quiet, somewhere far away from the noise of the headlines, the stock market crashes, and the endless questions about whether my dreams are real or just a fading moment. I need you to hear something today, not as advice, not as business philosophy, but as the raw, unfiltered truth that I have carried in silence for a very long time. If this were my last message to the world, if these were the final words I could offer before the light goes out, they wouldn't be about rockets, they wouldn't be about Mars, and they wouldn't be about the billions I've spent my life building. They would be about her. They would be about the choice I made long before I even understood what choosing really meant. Because love isn't something that just happens to you, like destiny or a sudden rainstorm. Love is a lighthouse that you build with your own bare hands. It is the light you keep burning when every other star in the sky goes dark. I chose her. Not in a grand, public gesture, but in 1,000 tiny, invisible decisions, in the quiet of the mornings and the uncertainty of the nights, in the spaces between words where the truth actually lives. And if I never get to say anything else, tell her it was always her. Wanting versus choosing. There is a weight in my chest, like a stone that has finally learned how to breathe. It's the realization of the difference between wanting someone and choosing them. I've watched the world confuse these two for years. People think desire is devotion. They think the rush of a new spark is the same as the decision to stay, but it's not. Wanting is easy. Wanting is chemistry. It's the electricity you feel when someone walks into a room. It's temporary. But choosing is the lighthouse in the storm. I chose her on a random Tuesday afternoon when nothing remarkable was happening. I chose her in the quiet between our conversations. I chose her when it would have been much easier to walk away, when my fear told me to protect myself, and when every logical voice in my head said I should keep my options open. Choosing isn't a one-time event. It's not a proposal or a promise you make once and then forget. It's a lighthouse you tend every single day. You clean the glass, you check the oil, you make sure that no matter how dark the world becomes, she can always find her way back to you. That is what love is. It's not the feeling, it's the tending. The demolition of pride. I remember a moment, a small argument about something so insignificant I can't even remember what it was. But in the middle of that friction, I had a sudden flash of clarity. I could win this. I could prove I was right. I could feed my ego and stand tall. Or I could choose her. I could choose us. I could let the lighthouse shine brighter than my own pride. I chose her, and in that moment, everything shifted. Love isn't about being right. It's not about winning a battle. It's about deciding over and over again that this person's heart is more important than your position. Choosing her scared me more than any rocket launch ever did. Because when you truly choose someone, you're saying, I see your flaws and I'm not running. I see your darkness and I'm bringing my light. I see your wounds and I am not afraid of the blood. That kind of vulnerability is terrifying. It means you can't hide anymore. You can't keep one foot out the door. You have to show up, especially when it's hard. I chose her on the days when I was exhausted. I chose her when the grass looked greener elsewhere. I chose her when she was difficult, because that is what a lighthouse keeper does. They don't turn off the light just because the weather changes. The roots of loyalty. People think commitment means settling. They think it's boring. But that is the lie of a culture addicted to novelty. The truth is, loyalty is where the real adventure begins. Loyalty isn't about chains, it's about roots. Roots go deep into the earth. They anchor you when the wind picks up. They feed you from sources no one else can see. When I stopped running, I discovered a universe inside her layers. I found depths I'm still exploring, and I only found them because I stopped surfing the surface and decided to dive. Loyalty is an active practice. It's the decision to stay home, even when the world outside looks exciting. It's the decision to tend your own garden instead of wondering about the flowers in someone else's yard. Some days the stairs to the lighthouse are steep. Some days the oil is low and the storm is raging. Those are the days that separate the people who meant it from the people who just liked the idea of it. I've had those days when my pride wanted me to withhold love, but loyalty said, climb the stairs anyway, keep the light burning anyway. And every time I did, a foundation was built that could weather any storm. A trust was created that was heavier than any skyscraper I've ever built. The rebirth of freedom. Here is the secret no one tells you. The love you give shapes the person you become. I became steady because I chose steadiness. I became loyal because I chose loyalty. In becoming those things for her, I became them for myself. Choosing her wasn't just about her, it was about the man I wanted to be. Real freedom isn't having endless options. Real freedom is choosing one thing so fully that you are finally free from the exhaustion of always choosing. It's the peace that comes from saying, this is it. I can finally stop searching and start building. Destiny isn't written in the stars. It's written in the stone of the lighthouse you build with your own hands. If she ever doubts, if there is ever a moment when she wonders if I meant it, tell her to look for the light. It's still burning. It never stopped. It never will. Because I chose loyalty. And loyalty chose freedom, and freedom chose love, and love chose her. Before you walk away and return to the noise of your daily life, I want you to take a deep breath. You've listened to this journey of choice, loyalty, and the lighthouse of the heart. Now look at your own life. Who are you choosing? What lighthouse are you building? Success in 2026 is no longer about how much you can accumulate. It's about how much you can authentically share. The man who can win the world but lose his own ability to trust is not a winner. He is a prisoner. Elon Musk realized this, and today I hope you do too. If these words touched something deep inside you, if they reminded you of a truth you've been running from, then don't let this moment fade. This is where we build a different kind of empire, an empire of the mind and the soul. If you are ready to stop running and start building your own lighthouse, then join our elite circle. Hit the subscribe button right now and turn on the notification bell. Here at Mindset Ignho, we don't just talk about success. Leave a comment below with just 4 words, "I am the lighthouse." Let the community know that you are committed to the long game. Thank you for giving me your most valuable asset, your time. Remember, the light only stays burning if you choose to tend it every single day. Stay hardcore, stay human, stay with Mindset Ignho. I will see you in the next deep dive.